What's going on, ladies and gentlemen, saints and ain'ts, and welcome to Lactic Acid, the podcast where the takes are fresh, the ideas are ripe, and that makes us the best in the bunch. I'm your host, Dominique Smith, and today I have one of the GOATs when it comes to the javelin. She is the best Canadian to ever pick up the javelin, the spear, or sphere, however you pronounce it. You know, pronunciation is not one of the things that we specialize here on the show. We keep it 100, and we have one of the best to do it, Miss Liz Gleadle. Thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule to join the show. How are you doing?
I'm real good. I'm excited to be here. It's nice to, always fun to do a podcast.
Awesome. Thank you for coming on the show. So I have to ask you what I ask everybody that steps foot on the show. If you had to pick a superhero to describe your game as a javelin thrower, who are you rolling with?
I was actually thinking about this because I listened to Kara's podcast and she gave a fantastic answer. And I was interested because I was thinking about like superheroes or something like that. And I was like, I don't really identify with like a lot of these heroes because I don't have some super dark backstory or something like that. Yeah. And I love that she gave like a comedy. And I was thinking about it and I was like, I don't know if you ever watched this show. It's called Why Women Kill. And it's about these three women who have been wronged in some way in their relationship. And it's at three different time periods, all in the same house. And they go back and forth between these stories. And this one woman her name is Simone, and she ends up finding out that her husband has been using her as a beard for years, but they're best friends. And she goes through this really interesting, all these phases of like grief and anger and denial and all these other things. And then she kind of ends up realizing that she can't hold on to this like intense personality that she's been portraying herself as. And she becomes this much more empathetic and deeply aware person. And she actually ends up assisting her husband in suicide because he's like come down with AIDS in the 80s. And I thought it was really interesting to see this woman go from like this really hard character to this really empathetic person who like saw the bigger picture and like what life was about and about identifying with things. And when I think about my journey in track and field, I really think I was doing track to like be better and have status and like accomplish something really big earlier in my career. And now I'm at a place where like I really want to give back. I want to help out younger athletes. I really I see the bigger picture and I'm able to step back from it. And so that was kind of what I thought was really interesting. I'm like, what a strange character to like identify with, but really like it is like that growth is really something that you don't necessarily get in a lot of athletes if they haven't been in the game as long. And being an athlete into your 30s is a very unique experience because not a lot of people have the capacity either for like financial reasons, health reasons, losing motivation, losing focus, whatever. So I think it's kind of interesting to be in it for the long game and to have a very large and obvious shift in perspective and motivation.
Have you seen the movie The Lost Woman, or not The Lost Woman, The Other Woman?
I think I have.
With Cameron Diaz, Leslie Mann, and Kate Upton.
Hilarious. I cried laughing. That's what it was.
It's so funny that you said that. That movie was literally before this episode. I was just watching that movie. It was on Freeform. So when you kind of said like three women been wronged by three different times, I was thinking, oh, okay, well, that sounds. What you said is way better than The Other Woman. Even though they got him at the end, they messed him up. But that seems more mature and stuff like that. So
definitely not like the same thing at all.
Okay, yes. I don't know when you were describing that, I was like, oh snap, like okay, like I can understand it, but yours is definitely, especially a lot of young athletes in this crazy sport can use the guidance and stuff like that from veterans who, understand the game and have a lot to give back. So I appreciate that answer. All righty. Speaking of Kara, she said something at the end of that episode, and I'm paraphrasing, about the javelin, you being one of the best javelin throwers and having success in your career. She said that the javelin is essentially a sprint, a jump, and a throw combined. The javelin is hard. Like living in Florida, competing, I threw the shot, put in the discus. Javelin is something I wanted to try, but it was banned while I was in school because somebody got hit, stuff like that.
Classic word.
Yeah, so thankfully, I think they are okay. I don't think they died, but obviously it's still bad. But no, it always like looked fun, and then you look at the technique and stuff. I'm like, oh, I don't know about all this. It's like my elbow hurts from just watching people throw and everything. What does the
Yeah.
javelin mean to you? If that question makes sense.
In a kinesthetic perspective,
Just in general, why the javelin?
why the javelin? I was good at it. That was really the end of it. I pitched. I played basketball for a long time, and I basically stopped throwing things underhand, and I switched to throwing sticks overhand. And it happened really fast for me. I was kind of, like, we have two systems for doing track and field in Canada. You can do it as part of your high school, which is kind of like, it's not organized, and it's not like you go to a certain high school to do track. It's not really like that. And then we have the club system. And so I would just mess around, throw a javelin 2-3 times a week between grades 8 through 10. And then in grade 10, someone came and helped me out. And like, I ended up going from like 22 meters to 36 meters that year. And
Wow.
I came third at British Columbia High School Championships. And that was when grades 8 through 12 all competed together. There was no separation between the grades. So someone's like, hey, like, you're pretty good at this. Like, you should go to provincials for your age group. And I was like, we have that? And they're like, yeah, it's the club system. I was like, oh, okay. So I went and I won. And someone else comes up to me like, congratulations, you've made the British Columbia team. You get to go to nationals. It's like, we have nationals? So it was really this, I've been like a B+ athlete all my life. I'm tall, I'm strong, I'm not coordinated or explosive. Sorry, I am now. I was not then. And so I was always a B+ athlete at everything. And when I picked up javelin, it was my niche. And the thing that I always tell anybody who's younger, who doesn't feel like they're amazing at any one sport, I'm kind of like, well, you haven't found your thing yet. And your thing might not necessarily be something that you make a national team for, but like when you find your thing, it brings you a lot of joy and a lot of connection to your body. And that's what I love about javelin, is like, I was able to find my thing and find a way to feel connected to myself, connected to my body, kind of master of my own universe, and like able to make choices and have them change my life in a really meaningful way. And so when I felt like I had that locus of control in my life really took off, because I became a lot more confident. I came a lot more satisfied with my efforts. And it's really just been this job of refining how I move and how I think and how I actually want to go about my life. So it's been this wonderful thing to just kind of let everything rotate around and change.
Wow. When you first started, did you think that you would reach the success that you've accomplished? No.
I didn't care. I was like, this is fun. Like, this is great. And I remember in 2008, I'd hurt my arm a little bit that year, but then I realized that we had something called a Rising Star Standard in 2008, and it was 56 meters, and I'd thrown 54. And I was like,
if you've heard me mention on the show that I hate technology, this was an example why. After a brief technical difficulty, we are back. And so I'm going to re-ask you that question. And I think I forgot what I asked, but it was something.
Where did I leave off?
So you were saying, I asked the question, did you feel that did you ever think that you would achieve the success that you have, earned? And then you talked about you had some arm issues, and yeah, the standard was like 56 and you were throwing 54.
Yeah. So I thought to myself, well, that's not that far. I didn't realize it was that close. And it was kind of at that point where it became on my radar that I could maybe make the Olympics. Not that but I remember, like, when I was a little kid, I remember this. I think I was like in grade 3 or something. They're like, what do you want to be when you grow up? Do you want to be a firefighter? Do you want to be a doctor? Do you want to be an Olympian? And I was like, no, it sounds like a lot of work. I'm good. And I just thought like with I loved team sports, and that's all I played when I was a little kid. And it just like didn't jive with me. And so when I realized I was close, I was like, oh, okay. And so I was still training hard. I always trained hard, but I was definitely like partying in university and having a really good time. And when I realized that my idea of a good time involved becoming excellent of something, it started to shift how I spent my time, where I put my focus, and how I focused. And so by the time I was like, when I started to realize that, the quality of your training could really determine how fast you improved, and like little things added up, and it became a game for me. And so it was really like when it became an option to make the Olympics, it became something very different. But I never dreamt about it. I never thought about it really until 2008. And then it became a real reality where I was like, I want this in 2010.
It's so like funny just going through your social media and just preparing for this interview, learning about you taken something so just basic in throwing a javelin and you turned it into this platform to really help people. Like you talked about the mindset of the morning, and I listened to that in all the interviews, and I was like, I don't get it, because I don't do mornings. I thank the Lord for another day. And for the first hour and a half, I'm silent. Like don't talk to me. Don't even think about looking at me to talk to me. And I don't drink coffee and stuff like that. So like I have to get ready to just, get going, listen to music. But something as simple as how you start your day, and the impact that it has and the impact that it's had on you and being able to adjust. It sounds like a strategy that you would use in the javelin and stuff like that, just in case something goes wrong. Okay, bam, here's how you bounce back. The mentality that you take into throwing the javelin, it seems that you've taken it into life. How did the two correlate, and when did you find like, okay, the principles that I take when throwing, I can implement this into my day-to-day life, and bam, now you're catching W's instead of L's.
Yeah. Yeah, I think the morning routine that I have it's about kind of making sure that you're not in the red and making sure that you're in the green. That's what's more important. And I feel like, especially for a lot of people who feel like they're struggling to make changes or to make strides forward, the goal isn't to have meditate for 20 minutes every morning and do the crazy exercise workout and journal for an hour. It's no, the goal is to choose your thoughts, feel good, be a little hydrated, and put yourself in a place where you can do what you need to do. And so when I teach morning routines online, I host online events. I host one called Win the Morning, and I teach a 5-step minimum effective dose morning routine. I don't expect people to do the entire thing. I say, if any of these stand out to you as the opposite of what you're currently doing in the morning, like you wake up and then you check social media and read your email and check Slack for the first 50 minutes of your day, maybe it might jive with you to check in with yourself first and have your own thoughts and know what you want out of your day before someone else kind of crushes that, because you're this beautiful blank slate first thing in the morning. Or maybe you just wake up and drink coffee and sit at your computer. I say, well, how does that make you feel for the rest of the day? How does your body feel? Maybe you want to hydrate before you caffeinate, because, we function better when we hydrate first. Or maybe you want to just go for a quick walk outside and you're not going to have so much trouble sleeping because you've gotten sunlight on your face. And so what you're doing with music, you're obviously having a moment to yourself. You're connecting with yourself. You're creating energy for your day so that you can feel sustained. And you're not talking to anybody else, as you're protecting your space. And you're choosing, you are, because you're not being influenced by anybody else. You're actually being with yourself, and it helps you move forward faster. And so I think what you do in the morning has to be a reflection of what you want in your life, right? If you want, if you feel like your life is chaotic and you want peace, you're going to have a different morning routine than doing a bunch of exercise or trying to listen to motivational videos or dance in your kitchen. Maybe you just need some time alone to drink your warm beverage and journal. So everybody is different. And what I try and get people to realize is that what you do first thing in the morning kind of sets the tone for the day. And it's kind of you wake up and you're late. You're oh no, and you rip out of bed and you're panicking. And then the rest of your day, you're kind of in this mild panic. And it's this butterfly effect, and it affects everything else you do. So what I really think is that how you start your day is incredibly important, and it increases the likelihood of you doing the things that you want to do and going the direction that you want to go.
Can we start calling you Dr. Liz? Get you a little TV show from 3 to 4. You could take Dr. Phil's spot. God,
sometimes maybe. I'm creating online courses right now for university athletes, and it's basically the concept of I want to create a high performance mini series, and it's basically I'm not asking you to go to sleep at 10 p.m. every night. I don't expect that to happen. I am going to tell you about like how little things might affect, like how getting a little bit better sleep might give you a really big return on investment. So that's kind of the next thing that I'm working on, is like how little things provide really great returns when working hard isn't enough anymore.
Okay, so we for sure gonna call you Dr. Liz, because like, dang, I thought I was just like the Grinch in the mornings, but okay, I'm actually okay. I'm self-loving, listening to my music. Okay, shout out to
Yeah,
me. Yeah, I got you. I got you. You seem just willing to share your personal experience. Like I remember you were, one of your Instagram posts, you were just talking about, in college, how you learned about alcohol and how it affected, everything, and just giving people advice. And then obviously, throughout your career, battling injuries, but not just, talking about how you stayed down, but how you got up. What gave you the courage to be so vulnerable to help other people, especially young athletes in this day and age, who are going through different things that maybe they didn't have to, previously go through, at certain times in their life?
Yeah, I don't know. I think it's always frustrating when you feel like you have a struggle and you feel like no one else understands it. And you see like, you see it like other athletes and they're posting, and maybe they're posting about products, or they're out doing something and they look pretty, or they provide like one inspirational quote, but like you don't know them, and that's not what people relate to the most. And when I hear like someone's story and what's going on and like how they're dealing with it, and you get to deal with it in real time, and you're like, oh, this isn't like, yeah, sometimes every once in a while it's like, oh, this was the start and this was the finish and this is how she got there. But every once in a while, it's like, this is where I'm at, this is what I'm dealing with, and this is what I'm attempting to do because I feel like it's pulling me out of it. And I feel like those beginning steps are really, really important. And I didn't feel like I had that in some ways, just because like the Canadian record was 56 meters when I broke it. And it was really cool, and it's been an honor to be able to like be on top for so long. But it's also this thing where it's like you get there and then you feel this pressure to keep it. And it's not something it's different to chase something than to try and keep it away from everybody else.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's been this journey of kind of thinking like, wow, like where did I struggle? And like, how did I like, like I didn't feel like I had somebody ahead of me that I could ask questions to. And I like this concept of like almost being a big sister to younger athletes, because like I like the concept of being open enough that people feel like they can ask me things. And I've received like messages from people like asking me like really personal things. And I was like, wow, I feel really honored that you chose to ask me this and trust me with this. And I'm so happy to help you with it. So you just kind of get to this point where you're like, why did I do all of this? Because at one point it was for sure just to like be sweet, like personal glory, whatever. But you realize like that's not as meaningful if you don't pass it on.
That's deep. Like I said, Dr. Liz right here. This is first class information. Oh man. Okay, so we're gonna get back to the javelin and some javelin specific stuff in a minute. But the people on the show want to know more about you off the track. Who is Liz Gleadle off the track? Tell the people, give the people what they want to know. You're not just athletes on it, you're people off of it. So that's what we want to know.
Yeah. I don't know. I think I'm really silly. I love being very lighthearted. I generally have this funny rule where it's like, if anything really bad happens in general, I give myself 2 hours to be really upset about it. And I go full upset. And then I was like, life's too short, like get it out of your system and then move on. Like, and so like, it's kind of like life's really beautiful and it has its ups and it has its downs. But I think that like, I genuinely just enjoy having a really good time. And the times where I've gotten too serious on stuff, it's really held me back from like the bigger picture of like, I love throwing. And the years where I made it like, I need to accomplish X, Y, and Z, I wasn't very happy. So I think like being lighthearted about stuff is really great. And yeah, I love talking to people. I'm a social butterfly. I'm the person at a party who just like goes from person to person to person, like every like 20 or 30 minutes, having like deep conversations. And like, obviously track and field doesn't allow for hyper socialization because you have to be recovering and you have to be looking after stuff. But I find myself to be really lucky when I have training partners that I can talk to and connect with. And that's been a thing that for sure brings me a lot of joy. Like I love hanging out with people. I love knowing what makes people tick. I love seeing why people think a certain way. So I'm always down for a really good conversation.
I can see it. I can definitely dig it. So you grew up in Canada, born and
Mhm.
raised. Me being here in Florida, I have no idea what Canada is like. Can you what was it like? What is Canada like? I'm genuinely
Vancouver's like a toned
curious.
down Seattle.
So it rains all the time?
It rains all the time. It's green. It's a rainforest, but it's not cold enough to kind of keep you indoors.
Okay.
But it's cold enough that it makes track pretty frustrating.
Oh my
We
gosh,
don't have
yeah.
indoor facilities because it's not cold enough. So that's British Columbia and Vancouver, but we have incredible food in Vancouver. Like
That's what I want to talk about. Yeah.
it's expensive as heck to live there and to pay rent, but groceries, not a problem. Like so inexpensive.
Really?
And like going out for sushi, there's like sushi, amazing coffee, like every other block basically, or sometimes at multiple times in one block in any like major area. So we have amazing like coffee culture, Asian food culture. Yeah, and it's just like in Vancouver, you basically like perfect day. It's like get a coffee, hang out, grab some sushi, go sit on the beach, tan a little, maybe go for a swim while you look at the mountains, and then like hang out with your friends and like go do something outdoorsy. It's
Wow.
Vancouver's pretty chill.
Seems like perfect. Well, I hate sushi, so outside of the sushi part, it's not that I hate sushi, it's just my fish has to be cooked. Like,
Fair.
yeah, that's just a personal preference. Now listen, y'all sushi lovers, don't come after me. This is just a personal preference for me.
There's sushi
Uh,
that's with cooked fish too, though.
but I mean like cook,
No,
you
like they
know.
have like barbecued eel and like they'll like that will be
Eel?
the oh, it's so
Ew.
good. It's flaky.
Okay. Eel. What
Okay.
what does that taste like?
It's delicious. It's yeah, I mean like they have it like sauce, so it's like barbecue sauce on eel. And like people think of eel as like, I don't know what people think of eel, but like maybe they think of it as slimy and it's not. It's like a little bit fattier than like salmon is kind of how I describe it. Like a nicely cooked salmon.
Okay.
It's got a really nice texture to it. Like it's not gross in any way. Like if you like fish that's cooked, like you'll like barbecue eel.
Can you fry it?
Probably. There's places that
Okay.
do fry it. There's like different types of sushi that are like they fry the fish and like yeah, totally there.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I know there's some tempura batter, which is pretty much the only way I would try sushi. Eel, barbecue eel.
Yeah.
We don't have that in Florida, so I'm just still trying to wrap my head around it. I just like eel like a slug, like these slimy creatures. Okay,
Yeah.
interesting.
But I mean like so like I grew up in Vancouver. I lived there until 2011 and then I lived in Alberta for 7 years. And you drive over the mountains and it's completely different. It can be -40 in the winter,
Oof.
but then the next day it can go up to +10 Celsius. And it's crazy windy. So Alberta, where I lived in Lethbridge, sometimes like on average, the wind that we throw with is about 30 kilometers an hour. Or I guess like what is that? Like 18 miles an hour. But we cancel practice when I hit 65K because that's when your feet start hitting each other and you like can't function. But most of the time we throw indoors. And so life is basically spent indoors. And it was very eat, train, sleep for a long time. And now I just go there for camps. So I go there for as long as it's functional. And then I'm like, I don't want to be here anymore. I'm cold and I'd like to be outside.
Oh my goodness gracious! I bet the javelin is just you're launching throws, even with like an 18-mile-an-hour wind, like you're hitting world records, throwing that javelin.
A lot of the time it pushes it down. So it
Okay.
can be pretty frustrating sometimes.
That is true because with like I noticed with the discus and specifically a javelin too, like if you don't get enough height on it and stuff like that, it just kind of sails down like a kite with a bad habit. So I definitely understand that. What's the go-to food for you, whether it's to
For what?
cook or to eat, just in general?
I am the master of salads, of delicious salads.
Delicious salads. Okay.
Yeah.
Like,
So
give
yeah,
me
I'll
a
barbecue
go-to.
some kind of chicken or fish or something.
Okay.
Um, And then I'll like my salads generally involve like something that's green, something that's red or purple, probably some like quinoa or lentils or black beans, maybe like feta cheese. I'll throw in like cilantro and mint. It's like a whole
Oh,
thing.
oh,
And then
wow.
I'll make some kind of salad dressing with like, I like limes a lot. So like lime, olive oil, fish sauce, salt, pepper, garlic, like any of those, like anything that makes it like have some tang to it. But whatever works with the marinade with the chicken. So I love a good salad.
Oh my gosh, this is some high level Food Network chop star kind of salad making. I can dig it.
All
Wow.
my mom's doing.
I have to step my game up because I thought I was riding high yesterday. I made like this little salad, cut up some chicken, do some mozzarella cheese. I was watching Diners, Drive-Ins, and Dives, and so I steamed it till it melted, and then I just put it on the Caesar salad. But this is, gosh, I mean,
Maybe I'll send you
man.
a recipe.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I'm always down to try new foods. I don't like quinoa. I think I tried it once
Yeah.
and it went in my hit list. I hate it. It just does not taste. Maybe because it was at a hotel and I don't know anything about quinoa, so maybe you have to season it.
Yeah, absolutely. Like you need to have like it takes on the flavor of whatever you cook it with. So
Liz,
that's why
I'm
I think
telling you, this was not seasoned. Like they got this, and then whatever seasoning they put on it, I'm sure they went and boiled it in some waters to make sure that the seasoning went off and then gave it to me. Okay, so that makes me feel bad. I thought I was just crazy, but I'm like, nah, this tastes
people don't like it, but like I mean you could have couscous and like
this.
that's delicious.
I love couscous. Wow. That is some high level salad making. Okay. What's the best one that you've made?
Asian coleslaw salad.
Ooh, ooh.
Yeah. So it's like it's a greens mix that basically like we make a huge quantity of, and then you can like add the wet stuff to it, so to speak, so it doesn't go bad. So it's spinach, cilantro mixed, mint, grated purple cabbage, savoy cabbage, red onion, carrots, and you mix that all up, and then you make a dressing, and you put in olive oil, lime juice, fish sauce, chili sauce, and some garlic and some salt, I think. I think that's like the main components. And then you can always like chop in like plums or chop up some chicken or like barbecue a salmon, like put that on the side. And that's the salad go-to.
So far this episode, you are a national record holder, a doctor, and now a chef.
Emotional doctor.
Yes. So the jack of all trades, and we're finding out the master of every single one of them. Wow, that is crazy. What about guilty pleasure?
Guilty pleasure, chocolate. I don't even know if it's guilty though, because I love 85% chocolate. So I literally have coffee and chocolate like 6 days a week when I wake up.
Like dark chocolate or like milk chocolate?
Like dark chocolate, like 80 to kind of like 90%, and like, or maybe it has like chili or like orange. That's a real treat. That's the real guilty pleasure.
Chili?
Chili chocolate? Have you never had chili chocolate?
I've never heard of it.
Oh, you can get it like it's like Lindt, and like any like bougie chocolate company generally has an orange and mint.
Y'all, we had another technical difficulty for whatever. Liz's internet is lit. My internet is lit. But for some reason, see, this warfare, I don't even care. It's bad. It's bad. But we were talking about chili chocolate, and you tell me bougie companies, chocolate companies, sells chili chocolate. Now, I've never heard of it. I don't think Hershey's has chili chocolate. Liz, that has to be a Canada thing. I have never heard of that in my entire
No, like if you go, like,
in my 28 years of existence. Mm-mm.
yeah, no, it's if you go to like even just like Lindt has like all of those flavors, and then like green and blacks, and like there's lots of companies. If you just go to Whole Foods chocolate section, you're in for a treat.
Go to Whole Foods twice a week. I have never seen it in Whole Foods.
You're about to be blown away when you go next.
Okay, I'm going tomorrow.
Okay,
I'm gonna email you. Be like, Liz, should I try it?
yeah, I mean, like, if you do like chili, do you like chocolate?
But that is such a weird combination.
It's not. Or even like, have you had sea salt chocolate?
Yes, it's just
Okay.
like a little salty,
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah. I mean, like orange is a safe place to start. If you like a little bit of spice and you like chocolate, you will probably like chili chocolate.
I'm okay. I'm gonna try it. I promise you. I'm going to try it.
I'm
So
excited.
I will try chili chocolate before I try. I don't even know if Florida sells eel. Like, to be honest, I've never seen it before. So I have to add. Listen, I'd like to try weird concoctions all the time, and so chili chocolate, but with coffee though. And I hate
Oh,
coffee. Like, I think they should ban coffee. So, but the two just like, and that's just me personally. I've already been tapped by coffee, lovers. It's okay. I can take
it
it.
melts in my mouth because my mouth is hot and then the chocolate is hard. And then when I put it in my mouth, it melts.
I like that. Okay, you see, I can dig that. I can dig that. What if they made like a chili chocolate coffee though?
That's the thing though. Like, I don't want my coffee like adulterated. I like the flavor of coffee. Like, I don't want like, a hazel French caramel like coffee. I'm just like, no, like they're trying to hide the flavor of coffee from people who want caffeine.
That's
But
that's
like,
fair.
like in my family, we buy green beans in like 150-pound burlap sack and then we roast it. So we have fresh coffee.
I like that. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
old school. That's legit. So I guess you're not a fan of like Dunkin' and Starbucks with their mocha frappa crappas and
I'll
um
have it, but not those drinks. I'll have coffee, but like, I can't tell you the last time I had Frappuccino or something.
well, they have like, I know Dunkin' does, they have Girl Scout flavored coffee drinks.
That sounds like a lot of chemicals and grossness.
Sounds like
That's a
a
big,
lot of sounds like a lot of
that's a big.
sugar. Like, I've seen like the Girl Scout cookies, I've seen like Reese's and Hershey's and
It's perfect just the way it is. Maybe with a
okay.
little bit of butter, and then you're good.
But you see, dark chocolate can't be considered a guilty pleasure because it's technically kind of healthy because it helps your heart.
Okay, so guilty pleasure, like chocolate ice cream, like just ice cream because I'm lactose intolerant. So it's absolutely a
Oh
guilty
my
pleasure,
gosh.
and it's only something I eat when I'm alone.
Ugh. I'm so I feel so bad for people who are lactose intolerant. Like, I got to put you on the prayer list because
I don't
ugh,
mind. I love eating the way I eat. It doesn't really bother me. It's just kind of like, and it keeps me in check for like eating the way I want to eat and eating healthy. And then when I have something, it's like, okay, like I might suffer the consequences from this, but I'm prepared to do it.
well, that's the thing I kind of learned. Do it in moderation. Like,
Yeah.
I tried to follow like a diet, and then I don't. It's like you deprive yourself of like good food, and then you like binge eat because you miss it so much. Um,
But I
at
think
least
that
that's
that's
me.
really like when people say I'm depriving myself of something, I think it has to be in alignment with who you want to be, right? Like when you say like being an athlete, like I love being healthy, I love moving well, I love feeling energetic, like I love like my skin kind of freaks out when I have too much sugar, and like I love being a healthy person. And when I eat in a way that doesn't support that, I feel out of alignment with myself. And so I don't have FOMO from like not eating pizza and ice cream and sandwiches all the time. I don't eat a lot of gluten. And so I think when you start to look at your diet as a pathway to either becoming or sustaining who you want to be, you start realizing you're like, no, I'm not really this person who has ice cream 5 nights a week. Like that doesn't really jive with who I am and who I want to be. And it stops being a sacrifice because it's not out of alignment with who you want to be.
I can dig that. I can
Yeah.
accept that.
But if
Okay.
you're hanging out with people who like want to do that and food is life and like really like interesting contraptions and ice cream and like they're big foodies, and then you hang out with them, you're going to feel out of alignment with your friends and you're going to feel like you don't have the same values, and you'll either try and shift to share those values with your friends, or you're going to try and pull your friends the other way, or you're going to feel at odds all the time. And so people don't realize that there's that social pull, right?
Yeah.
So it really depends on who you're hanging out with. Like if I'm hanging out with my friends who are non-athletes, like they want to have a drink like 4 or 5 times a week, and like I don't really drink that much anymore, so it's but like I'll absolutely have a drink with them simply because I'm with them.
life lessons, right? like like I said, that's so true. That is true. And I accept that. I accept that. I accept that. I will, well, I don't say I'll reevaluate, because I'm learning what you put in your body is what you're going to get out. And I like to have energy and stuff like that. So I definitely accept that. Okay. What is it like living consistently in cold weather? Because there's a part of me that actually is, y'all can keep that -40 stuff. Like just
I don't want
leave.
it. I don't, that's not mine.
Okay, that's a former, like that's the old you.
Yeah.
Yes. But you know, I would like a white Christmas that, you know, is not 85 to 90 degrees and, you know, stuff, and have like be able to wear sweatshirts in December and stuff like that. But I'm always curious, like, what is it like growing up in like cold temperatures, especially for people who are more in a culture, an outdoorsy culture?
Yeah. Well, Vancouver is actually a very outdoorsy place. People love to hike and rock climb. Like, I'm outside all the time. Like, I love going outside when it's raining and I can like go for a walk, and I'm wearing like, I've got a full rain suit on, but like it's so fresh. Like the air is just so fresh in BC during the winter, and it's so renewing. And it's, you like when you're wearing the right clothes, it feels great. And like I don't even mind being cold, because like I love being too hot and experiencing the struggle with that and working really hard through heat. But I also love the mental game of like being a little too cold. And like I've done hundreds of ice baths, like, and I've, you know, like swam in the ocean. Like I swim in the ocean pretty regularly, like to go for like cold plunges during the winter. And it's really invigorating. And it also kind of helps you realize that you're stronger than your perception of discomfort and what people initially recognize as pain. And it was really funny because I know a lot of athletes have a really hard time throwing in the wind or throwing in the rain, and it really psychologically messes with them. And so it's funny when I've gone to meets and it's like pouring rain and I'm like, whew, this is my element. Like, just keep it coming.
I'm ready.
I'm ready. Like it's not a problem for me. And so I think it's, you know, when you deal with elements that a lot of people consider adverse, you kind of come to understand them a little bit more and to enjoy them and enjoy their power. And I think it's kind of like swimming in the ocean, right? When the waves are rolling in and you're like, wow, I'm really small and I don't have power here. And I can do my best, but I'm going to have to go with it and not struggle against it. And so I think there's kind of that mentality where things become, you just become a little bit more in tune with how small you are. And it's kind of a nice feeling.
Wow. I can dig that. Walking in the rain, that's a sinus infection for me, even with a wetsuit on, but still, it sounds nice to have that perspective. And so let's switch over back to javelin. What is a misconception about the event that you wish would be debunked?
Ooh. Gosh. You know what? I have one. You don't actually need to be as strong as you think you need to be. You need to be coordinated and you need to time things well. And I think a lot of people, because, you know, like we want to try harder, especially like a lot of people who are doing track and field are like, you know, late teens or late 20s. And they're at that phase where like, they want someone to say like, jump this way. And they're like, how high? Like, and you just want to like, you want to work hard, but you want to be told what to do. And so what you're told what to do, and it is your job to do it to the best of your ability. And so, although that's really important, at a certain point, that starts giving you diminishing returns. And so people start, you know, they're like, I'm going to have this huge squat. I'm going to have this amazing clean. My numbers are going to be huge, but the javelin is 600 or 800 grams. And Neeraj Chopra has like, arguably like some of the worst gym numbers ever, but he's crazy coordinated and he's light and he's thrown 89 meters. And obviously like there's different athletes have different ways of throwing and different prowesses. And like, I've had a really good bench. I've had a really good clean. I've had like impressive numbers on some lifts. And, you know, at one point they stop not returning on investment and specific strength becomes more important. And I know this because in my preparation for 2012, I did Olympic lifts 6 times a week between Monday and Friday. I did doubles every Monday, Wednesday, Friday. I threw 10 times a week. I threw jabs 6 times a week. I threw balls 4 times a week. And like, it was a brutal program, but like, it did get me to where I needed to go. But then I hurt my back in 2013 doing the same program, just because I was moving incorrectly in very strong and powerful ways. And so it created some really strong imbalances, and it really like pulled me out of alignment, and it gave me some hip issues, which had nothing to do with my hip. It had everything to do with my ribs. But I did 10 months of pure rehab. There was no throwing, there was no jumping, there was no lifting, there was no running, just rehab. And I remember I started by doing, my lats did everything for me. My triceps wouldn't do anything. So I remember one of my exercises was doing tricep extensions. And I would just lay on the floor, try and turn off my lats and do a tricep extension, and just use my triceps. And I started by, I could do it correctly 3 times in a row with 1 pound. Yeah. And I remember 6 months in, I'm so frustrated because I used to do pullovers with like, 110 pounds or something like that. And I'm so frustrated that I can't do, I'm doing tricep extensions now, and I'm doing it like 3 by 15 at 3 pounds. And I'm like crying at physio because I'm so frustrated that I can't even do stuff yet. And she's like, you do realize that you've gone from like 1 by 3 to 3 by 15 with an increased weight of 300%. And I was like, oh, that's a really good point. And so I learned to move well. And by the time I came back in 2014 and I first started throwing, like it took me a minute to adjust, but I only did rehab and throwing. There was no lifting, no sprinting, no plyos, nothing. Just move correctly and throw javelin. And lo and behold, 3 months into throwing javelin at my first meet, I break the Canadian record by 3 meters. And I thought, that's really interesting. Obviously, I have strength left over from my previous program, and it absolutely served me. It's going to take a while before that strength wears off. Right. But I don't have to crush myself doing really hard exercises in this event. I need to move well. This is javelin. It is not CrossFit. And so you need to check your ego, because it's more important in javelin to move well and to move through the positions that you need to move through than it is to move through bad positions with a lot of force. And bad positions with a lot of force is going to put you in trouble. So I think that's the greatest misconception, because, of course, most javelin throwers look pretty fit and pretty strong, and we are, but it's also a game of staying healthy. Javelin has the second highest rate of injury in track and field. So if you'd like to keep throwing javelin, moving well and moving lighter, I find is way more important, and it'll give you fewer setbacks, which means that you'll progress faster over a series of years, not necessarily within the series of like 2 months or a training cycle.
How much do you think overtraining is a problem in the throwing community? Because I can tell you, I did, and this is just from my perspective in high school, and I had to, kind of learn certain things. I was on the weightlifting team, did track and field. So at certain points, especially in the off season, you're kind of doing double, because, one end you're trying to get swole, and obviously you're trying to get to the max. But on the other end, like you're saying, you learn quickly that your body is connected, and if something goes wrong, then it could manifest itself in a different area. But how much, to your point, do you think overtraining instead of, like you said, specific training, on your footwork, on quickness, on agility, and things like that? How much of that is an issue?
Well, I think that for everybody it's different. And, I can't speak to other programs because I don't know them, but I think that for me, I know that I'm overtraining when I don't want to be there. Because I love throwing and love pushing myself hard. And if I am at a place where it's like, I don't want to be here, or like I'm struggling to leave the house because I'm like, I do not want to go to practice. Like, that's not normal for me. And so, probably like once a month, absolutely. It always falls within a certain cycle. I'm not going to the track. Like, it's that day. I'm not going. I don't care. Like, I'm not going. I don't want to be there. But if you are regularly, like once a week or twice a week, being like, I don't want to go to track, like there's something going on, either with pain or with too much training, or you feeling like your training isn't specifically leading you to a better throw. Probably it feels like it's useless, or like it's not actually making you better. And so I think if you're an athlete and you really enjoy track, like you probably want to be there. And as soon as you start to lose that joy, or like if, 85% of the time you want to be there, you're fine. If it's under 85%, you probably are overtraining, or you need to rethink your program, or maybe you don't love track anymore, or maybe you don't love the place that you're at, or maybe you don't like the program. So, overtraining is mental as well. And if your mind and body aren't at the same level of fitness or same capacity to handle it, or your mind and your emotions, then that might be overtraining, and everybody's different. And I think it's also that point of saying, okay, especially for athletes in school, like, how much do I care about school and how much do I care about track? Because there's a balance there. And if it's your goal in life to be a doctor, and track is a thing that you're doing to get your undergrad paid for, then be realistic about your track goals. If you want to like make the Olympics, or you want to see how far you can push it, and you're willing to sacrifice your grades a little bit, don't be so hard on yourself on your grades, because that's going to make you burn out if you're trying to do both excellently. So I think finding that balance about, like, I was a A+ student in high school. I went to university, my average was B-, because I cared more about track, and I was okay with it.
C's get degrees, people, trust me.
They do.
Trust me. And a B- is really good. Like in college, that's like great. That's Dean's list. So, okay.
Not what I'm from.
Okay, well, okay, I'm sorry. That's just maybe here in Florida, but Canada, they're not about that life. That's fair. That is okay. What thrill did you have when you broke the Canadian record? Like, because that's a big deal. And I know earlier you said, and that's true. It's in certain sports, people use the phrase, it's different from being the hunter to being hunted. But you played both roles. But when you broke that record, like what was that feeling like for you?
It was pretty funny, actually. I was in Serbia and I had food poisoning for 3 days.
Oh, okay. Okay.
So I remember thinking, I'm like, well, got nothing to lose. Like, then I popped out a 59-meter throw, and I was like, oh, okay. And it was really exciting, because I felt like I'd done a lot of really great work that year, and I was frustrated because I think I hurt myself a little bit in 2008, and I hadn't had the year I'd wanted to have. And so it was this moment of realizing that like hard work builds up, and it's not like any one day. It's like, oh, like I've been feeling like garbage for 3 days, but all the work that I'd done before has taken me to this point. And so I think I was just so relaxed, because I was like, well, guess I'll be whatever it is. And it made me stop trying so hard, and it made me just trust the work that I'd already put in.
Got 2 more questions for you. What's been your favorite experience so far in your career? Whether it's the Olympics or I was going to say breaking the record, but you have food poisoning, so nobody likes that. But what has it been? If you can think about it.
I mean, I got a couple, right? Some of them are based on achievement, but a lot of them are based on being around really good people. Like, honestly, being in Trinidad and like hanging out with Kishore and like getting to know him well and working with him and being around people here has been awesome. And it's been about, like, this year, like literally my goals are to be warm, have fun, and stay healthy. Like, that's it. Those are my goals. And I was like, that'll probably make me throw far enough to have a good time. And I've been following that gut feeling, and it feels really good to have it rewarded. Like, oh, I'm supposed to be here, and I'm around the right people. And so, when you have great conversations with people and you're on the same wavelength and you're just like, making friends is honestly one of the greatest parts of track, and meeting like-minded people who are on the pursuit of finding like the perfect throw, but knowing that you're never going to find it. You might get close and you might never get close, but you love chasing something. So being here is definitely a highlight. Training camp in Jena years ago and training with Petra and Thomas and that whole group was really amazing. I actually taught myself very bad German so that I could try and talk to Petra, because she didn't speak a whole lot of English, and like that was really fun, and it was really neat to like see how other people did things. Yeah, and then I think after my first Olympics as well, I was kind of like, I'd really invested myself for 2 years and given up where I live, my friends, I paused my school, I like trained like a maniac, and I really invested myself in something. And it wasn't even about the accomplishment. I was amazed that I made the final and like thrown close to a personal best at the Olympics. But it was this feeling of, oh, if I want something bad enough and I kind of put my eggs all in one basket and I pursue something wholeheartedly, I'm going to get somewhere really interesting. And it might not be exactly what I thought it would be, but it's going to take me to the right place. And one of my favorite sayings is, universe gives you what you need, not what you think you want. So it was kind of this aha moment of like, oh, if I just point myself in a direction and don't spread myself out so thin, really interesting things are going to happen.
Your story has been one of overcoming obstacles and finding the greater good, and achieving success, through that. You talked about your injuries, and I know in other shows you mentioned even in 2016, if I'm not mistaken, you suffered, a bit of a setback. You talked about, 10 months, no training, and then you come back and then you break, the national record. And so you've overcome these obstacles and you've achieved great success. But from just even our conversation, you've achieved inner success because you have this incredible perspective on life. What is it that you want? And this is a two-part question. When this all said and done in the sport, what do you want your legacy to be? And what do you want young athletes coming in behind you to learn from your journey?
Um, well, I mean, it's really neat to see right now. There's actually quite a few good female javelin throwers in Canada. They're all pretty young and hungry, and it's really exciting to see people doing well. And it felt like there was a bit of a vacuum before. So I'm really excited about that. I'd like to hope in some small way that like the fact that it was just me and there was like, I'm also like, I'm getting older, like obviously I'm going to retire soon. So people are like, ooh, like could be me, like I could go behind this, right? And I remember Alex, who broke my youth record with a 600-gram javelin because she competed as a junior when she was still a youth. That was a really old record. That was a 17-year-old record. And she's like, I've had my eyes on that record for years. And I was like, wow, I'm so happy that I was able to leave something that was inspiring to someone else to push themselves. So that's one thing. It's nice to know that like I've pushed the standard higher so that people have something like hard to go after. But the other thing is, I guess I would like a lot of athletes to know that there is a point in your career, well, where working hard isn't going to do it for you anymore. Like it's going to be, that's just the standard. And there are little things that you can do that make a really big difference. And I would love to increase the awareness of what those things are and what reasonable minimum effective dose things can start, because a lot of people will start a habit and they're like, oh, I need to be like, I'm not getting 8 or 9 hours of sleep, like I'm not doing it, right? But even increasing your sleep 30 minutes or increasing the quality of your sleep or being aware what caffeine does to you and like, changing it appropriately or being aware of how alcohol affects you and, just being a little bit more selective with when you party or how hard you party. And I would love to increase awareness about all the little things that athletes can do that make it so that less of them quit as early, because I am not the most talented athlete out of the pool of high school and university athletes that I hung out with. Like I'm not the most physically gifted person. I'm tall, I'm strong, but there was people who had way more in the tank than me. And some situations were situational where they just didn't enjoy track anymore or something came up, but I really feel like a couple of them could have taken it further had they had better tools at their disposal. So that's kind of what I'd like to do is like, I'm creating a course, I'm calling it the Varsity Glow Up, and it's going to basically be a mini series of small courses where people can take a habit, try it out, see how it affects them, and realize that small things do make a really big impact, and that they may have been plateauing, but the next phase is really mental and good habit choices, and it's not just working harder and banging your head against the wall hoping it's going to work.
I love that. I love that. I think I'm going to write about that. Definitely. We're into our final segment. It's called Down the Home Stretch. Now, I'm going to ask you some rapid fire questions, and I want you to answer them to the best of your ability as fast as you can. If you don't, it is really okay. 7 or 8 people have answered it, with our reigning champion being Mrs. Kara Winger, who answered them quick, fast, in a hurry, because she attacked that challenge like it owed her some money, and she put on for the javelin community. Liz, are you ready?
Sure, let's go.
If there was a food that you had to live with and live without, what would it be? What would they be?
Live with garlic, live without peppers.
Live with garlic, live without peppers. Okay. If there was a theme song that you wanted to, or if there was a theme song that was played to describe your life, what would it be?
Dun, 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 dun.
Star Wars? Is that Star
Why
Wars?
not? See,
Okay.
that's not beat, but you're going on an adventure.
I like it. I like it. Okay. That's wow. Okay, I'm gonna ignore that. All right. If you had to pick, if they made a movie about your life, as you see, I'm not inclined to cinema and stuff like that. So if they had to pick if oh gosh, if there was a movie made about your life, who would you want to play your character?
Someone who's jacked, but maybe they just have to work out really, really hard to get there. So whoever would work out the hardest.
Okay. Do you have any actresses in mind?
I mean, if Uma Thurman was still like 25 or something, I'd say Uma Thurman.
I can see that. I can see that. Yeah, I can see that. Uma, I think you should do it. I think you should do it. If you had to pick someone to narrate you throwing the javelin, so just step by step, who would you roll with?
Ooh, Samantha Jones from Sex and the City. She'd make it sensual.
Okay. Hey, that's certainly one way to bring eyes and attention to the sport.
Great voice.
Yeah. Okay.
Can control.
Great. Okay, Samantha. Got a job offer for you. Need you to be a commentator for track and field, specifically the javelin. Okay, I got you. What was the last TV show that you've binge watched?
Oh, Brooklyn Nine-Nine.
That was a good one. Best meal you've had so far in Trinidad and Tobago?
Doubles.
What?
Doubles.
Doubles. What is that?
It's basically fried dough with chickpeas, like a curry, and then some chutney that has like cucumber in it, and it's really messy. If you look at my Instagram, there's a video of me eating it, and there's a moment where the spice hits me, and my eyes just go like, but it's still really good.
Oh, wow. That is something. That sounds pretty good. Anything that's fried is okay with me. All right, a couple more. Favorite vacation spot?
I don't take vacations.
No,
Vancouver Island, probably. Lots of hiking, big trees, beautiful waterfalls.
No days off. I feel that dream vacation spot.
Dream vacation spot? Maybe Thailand or something.
Okay. If they had to put you on a Food Network show, what would it be?
Ooh, I don't know. I don't watch Food Network shows, so I can't name one. But I guess it'd be one with relatively healthy cooking. Yeah.
Okay, so you won't be on Food Network. That's fair.
No, point.
If you had to be a guest on any television show or television series or talk show, what would it be?
I don't know. Maybe The Amazing Race, because that could be super fun. I feel like going on like Bachelorette or something would be like a disaster, and I have no interest in that.
That's the worst show on television. That's just my opinion. It is.
I know, like, this is not good.
No, it's messy and billions of people watch it. I don't understand. Watch track and field instead. It's way better. There's just as many storylines. All right, last question. Why is the javelin the best event in track and field, and why is it the toughest event?
Oof. You're always in pursuit of the perfect throw. You're always changing your technique. You're always learning something new. And I think it's just incredibly complicated, incredibly explosive, and you can always get better. You'll never reach your peak.
Liz, you have completed down the home stretch, and you actually are the champion because that was faster than Kara answered it. So sorry, Kara, you're second place. Liz, you win the gold medal. That is it. That's why the javelin is the best. The javelin throwers come on here. They take it seriously. You've mastered the perfect throw. And so last question for you. What can we expect from you this season?
You can expect me to have a smile on my face a lot of the time. I'm making a lot of technical changes right now, and it's a little scary, but I'm in a place where I fully committed to it and I'm trying out some new things. So, you know, you can see me having a good time and trying to live my best life, but trying to pursue excellence just through taking some risks.
Where can the people find you?
I'm at Javeliz, so Javellizz on Instagram. I have Twitter and Facebook, but I don't really use them. So I'm most active on Instagram.
Graham is where it's at, and you have some awesome business endeavors, and make sure you go on her website to check those out. If you want her to speak, if you want Dr. Liz to speak to you and speak to your life, you need to book her right now. You will definitely be the better for it. Thank you so much for coming on the show. Sorry everybody for the technical difficulties. Technology hates us. They don't like it when professional doctors come on the show, spit great knowledge, talking about the javelin and everything. Hope you guys enjoyed it. You know where to find me, Lactic Acid Podcast on Instagram, Lactic Acid _pod on Twitter. Y'all, I still got a TikTok that I don't know how to use, will not pay attention to it, but I still want you to follow me at Lactic Acid with Dominique Smith. Check out Apple Lactic Acid Podcast. You can find this everywhere where you get podcasts. Leave a thumbs up, and it helps the algorithm. It helps more people find the show, listen to it. YouTube, we're popping on that channel. We have some exclusive episodes on there as well. Thank you so much, and we'll catch you next time.